Hi everyone, thanks to Cassandra for organising this YouTube hop called Rainbow Magic. Each month we're going to have a different colour to highlight in a monochromatic way. So this month the colour is yellow. The photos I've chosen are of sunflowers that we've grown in our garden this year, from tiny seedlings and now they're enormous. So the papers I've chosen are this one from my stash, a lemonade from our current Close to My Heart range, an older greenish colour that blends well, and perhaps a black if we need it. So our layout is starting with a double layout of white daisy, and I'm just putting the photos down to see what works as a layout. I really want the bees facing towards the inside of the layout, and I quite like the grid pattern and mixing it up a little bit like that. The first paper I'm going to introduce doesn't have any sunflowers on the right, but I'll use the left hand side, cutting it to about 6 1/4, just to put behind that initial photo and give us a little bit of a blend with the yellow and tiny little bit of green that's coming through in the photos. And overlapping these sunflower photos like so, I'll just highlight them a little bit with the green behind them. The photos are 6 by 4s, so if I cut the green to 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, I'll get a nice outline to the photos just to highlight them a little bit, and the green helps to blend them in with the other colour that's in the paper. So that's one done, and then we do the other one. Cool, that looks pretty good. Happy with that. So on the right hand page of the layout, I'm going to use the green as a background to mount all 4 photos at once, and that will just give us a block of green to blend in with the green we've used on the left. Now there will be a wee gap between the top 2 photos and the bottom 2 photos, but I'll be introducing a journaling strip into the middle to break that up and bring in some more white. So the photos, if you're a photographer or interested in the photography of it, they were taken on a Canon 5D4 with a 100mm macro lens at f6.3 and 1/800th of a second. So ISO was at 400, even though it was quite a bright day, but I really wanted that fast shutter speed to catch the bees in action. So that gets us our basic layout to move on with. I'd quite like a bit more yellow underneath the green on this side, just to blend in with the photos. So I'm using domed foam attachments that velcro onto a little wooden handle. And I'm using a light colour of honey butter just to sponge around the outside to give us a base that I can then use a darker colour to stencil on top of. So for the darker colour I'm using Sundance, and the stencil I'm using is the shape of a beehive. So I thought it blended quite well with the bees in the photos, and I'm just putting it anywhere. I'm not really measuring or lining things up. I'm just putting it on there, and then putting the green back on, and I think that brings back the focus to the yellow and to the images that we're showing. So putting them all back on to in the grid pattern that we had, and then sticking them onto the page. We'll go over to the left hand side and do the same sort of stencil work there. To complement our right hand side, I'm going to use the same process on the left hand page with the foam domes, and starting with the honey butter, giving a basic layer, and then changing over to the Sundance to place a little bit more with the beehive stencil. Once I've done that, I can stick down the left hand side piece of border paper and then mount the 2 photos ready to put onto the layout. But just before I do anything else, I'm going to clean the stencil because we're finished with that now. So now I'm going to stick the photos in on the left hand page and just using my eye to line them up with the photos on the right hand page and the left one in there just to balance everything off and make sure everything looks straight and even. And then it's time to do the title for the page, which I think will be Homegrown Sunflowers. The alphabet I've chosen to use is called Candy Cane, and it was the stamp of the month with Close to My Heart a couple of years ago. So the title is going to be Homegrown Sunflowers. So doing the homegrown first, I'm using the 0 as the second O so I can do everything at once. Turning the mat over and using the fern ink on top of the lemonade paper, I'll just stamp Homegrown and then clean it off, and I'll change the letters over so I can stamp Sunflower. Now I want it plural, so I'm just going to take the S and put it on the other side of the block to stamp that on the end. Cleaning the blocks, I've put all the alphabets back away, and I'll just trim these into strips that are even on above and below the letters. And then I'll try them out on the page and see where they best fit. So I'm undecided whether they need to be in line with the photos or into the middle. I think whatever I decide, they need to be an even length. So I've trimmed them and then I'll mount them on the green. Once they're mounted on the green, I think they look the best lined up with the photos underneath. So that's where I decided to adhere them. So mounting them like the photos and then on the top. Adding the journaling strip is just a matter of trimming it to size, and because it's sticky backed, I can just peel it off and add it where I need it. So that blends nicely. Then it's time for some embellishments, and I'm getting to use some stickers that I've had in my stash for years, so that's great. So some sunflower stickers on the left and the right of the title, and then some bees around the outside. Thanks for watching. The other participants in this YouTube hop are listed in the description, so don't forget to have a look at what they've come up with for the theme of yellow. Thanks again, Cassandra, for organising this awesome challenge.